Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I now am going to introduce you to someone who I think is just so special. She is the thing that really appeals to me is dedication that people have when they're a professional. And MICHANNE Davidson is that kind of a person, and she's an audiologist, and she's one of my favorite people who work with us at Boomer Time. So good morning. We have you on Facebook Live, so people who are on Facebook can find that. You know, we were just talking before we started the show this morning, MICHANNE, about people in actually very important responsibilities, such as security guards. And you'll notice that the ages of the security guards are usually over 50, sometimes 70. And that's fine. I love that because the job, they sit there and they welcome people or just, care about what they're doing. But we have a new one at our building. I'm sure people listen. I'm really telling something I probably shouldn't, but I was walking in and I said something to him and he completely ignored me, and he's not like that.
Right.
I know he can't hear well.
Right.
Now, this is dangerous. This isn't just, okay, I'm not hearing everything, but go away, right?
That's correct. I mean, if he can't hear someone approaching him from behind or beside, or that could be really dangerous for him and the residents.
So how do people, is it require someone to say to them, you're not hearing me, or you should go get tested? Are they just not aware?
They're not aware. Hearing loss is such a gradual process for most people. About 0.5% of nerve cells in the ear, we lose them about 0.5% at a rate of about 0.5% a year from birth. So think about that slow process. So you just sort of acclimate to the fact that things aren't as sharp and aren't as clear. And then suddenly, you might hear from a friend, gosh, I had to say that twice to you. It's like, really? I didn't hear you the first time. So, often the person with the loss is the last one to know. I know that sounds crazy, but I see that every day.
That example that you gave me, I think that's worth repeating.
Oh,
I heard you, but repeat it anyway.
I will. No, because I hear this every day in my job. So this week I have a patient who brought in her sister-in-law. Actually, her husband's a patient. Her hearing's good. But she brought in her sister-in-law and she said, I want you to test her hearing. And her sister-in-law looked at me and said, I don't know why she wants you to test my hearing. I hear fine. I hear all my friends when I go. I don't notice any problem. And then her sister-in-law is shaking her head behind her back. No, she doesn't. So I test her hearing, and sure enough, she has like a 50% hearing loss. And she did not have any idea she had it. So I did a little test to try to prove it to her. I stood behind her about 10 feet, and I just repeated numbers because there's no contextual cues there. So, 7, 6, and she didn't hear them. And so then I put on a pair of demonstration hearing aids that I programmed for her, stood in the same place, said the same numbers, and she heard every one of them. And she's like, is this a trick? Are you speaking at the same level? I said, I promised you, ask your sister-in-law. I did not change the volume of my voice. It's exactly the same. So, thank goodness I got her to leave with a demonstration set of hearing aids. I said, now it's time for you to see what happens in your real life. Take these demonstration hearing aids home. There's no cost for it. You're checking them out like a library book, and go see what happens. And so I'm anxious I can't wait for her to come back. She'll be back next week. But this is all the time.
I love this. And I hope people are on the Facebook Live just to see you. What I love about you is not only are you so experienced, but you're so enthusiastic, and
it is.
And you've been doing this for so long, and you're still so enthusiastic.
Who doesn't want to enrich someone's life? That is such a great feeling, and I feel so blessed that this is the career I chose, because you feel good every day at the end of the day, honestly.
Well, that's who you are.
I'll tell you another story. I had a woman, and she's 85, and she really impressed me because she said, I want to hear my TV better, and I don't want to make it louder, and how can I enhance my hearing aids? So I said, well, we'll get you a Bluetooth TV adapter. And I said, I'll wire it up for you. I said, take a picture of the back of your TV with your smartphone, send it to me. I'll show you how to wire it in. So she came in and got it. I preset it up, and she took it home. And then she called me. I can't get it working. I can't get it working. I said, look, you're on the way home from me. I'm going to stop by your house and I'm going to get that set up for you.
Oh.
I was 10 minutes away. She called. She goes, I already got it set up, but come over for some cappuccino. I said, I'm there. So we had a lovely cup of cappuccino together. And I'm telling you, at 85, she wired up and hooked that TV adapter up because in actuality, it's a very simple thing. And so my point is that people are, you think that someone 85 is older. No, this woman just stopped snow skiing last season. You know, they're more vibrant, they're more active, and they want the most that they can get out of life. And those people are so much fun to work with because they just embrace all the technology out there and they're ready to handle it.
Okay, I want you to know my guest is MICHANNE Davidson, and she is an audiologist. And we're going to explain the difference of when you go to a hearing center and when there's an audiologist there. But I want to give you their phone number. They do have quite a few locations in South Florida, but I'm going to give you a phone number that if you call there, they'll be able to get an appointment for you at their various locations. It's 561-221-0450. 561-221-0450. And remember, I explained all the time for so many years, get yourself a little notebook, write these numbers down, don't put it on yellow stickies, then you'll have it. Because it's not that this is an emergency and all of a sudden one day you have to go see MICHANNE. It's because you want to get a hearing test. Look, get a hearing test. Maybe you hear perfectly fine, but you have to get a hearing test to know that. Because MICHANNE tells me so many stories about this. And you could be 50 years old and still need hearing aids. So before I let you continue, because I'm very impressed with something. You keep talking about demonstration hearing aids. And I was in the hearing aid business many years ago. There wasn't anything like that. Explain, is that, and you've been in the business a long time, is that new?
I would say yes. It's fairly new. It's not very common. So although the idea has been out there, it takes a lot to establish a bank of demonstration hearing aids. And then if you want to be committed to really give someone a chance to test drive what normal hearing or good hearing is like before they purchase something like that. And there are a lot of providers out there that are very interested in the end sale, but not so much in really slowing down the process and walking the patient through that discovery of what good hearing is like. And I'd much rather slow it down and take them through that process, because then they'll more likely be happy with their hearing aids because they're choosing the correct ones because they had a chance to test out different models. And it's just the better way to go. I hope more people do it. I wish they did, but.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Let's go back to what you just said. Test the right models. Are there right models? Are they different?
Absolutely, because we're all individuals. Our brains are all very different. And there are different designs in hearing aids and the way they process sound. So there might be one person's brain that wants something that processes sound more slowly. So another person may want something that processes very quickly. Some patients need something to help them with their tinnitus. So there's so many factors that we have to consider. Also, size and shape and the dexterity of the person. Do they need something to recharge? Do they need Bluetooth functionality? So there are many, many choices out there, and we have such a great variety that, I try to help the patient narrow it down, and I involve them in the process. What are the issues that you're having in your life with communication? Is it television? Is it telephone? Is it how are your hands? Can you change your battery? So we narrow it down, and then we say, okay, these are the best choices for you right now to try. And we do one at a time, one set at a time, and they may try 3 or 4 sets before they make their decision, and that's great.
Mary Thurwachter is watching, and Mary, I know her from the Palm Beach Post.
Hi, Mary.
She and I worked together for a long time. She's a wonderful woman, but she always wants information, so I'm sure that she's going to learn a lot from you. I'm very appreciative of what you just said, because you're talking about taking a lot of time with someone, because we know that that's not easy. And first, it's convincing them that they need even a hearing test. Now, someone's dragged them in. And that's why we always want a friend or a spouse or somebody, a family member. All right, now you get them in the chair and you do your hearing test. Now it comes out and you have to convince them that it's a graph, and they see, where their hearing is. And of course, they believe you because you're very experienced and very professional. Now the big thing is, well, I don't have a lot of money. What do I do now? So why don't you talk about something that you have figured out, which is so good?
Right. So in order to bring hearing care to more people, I've decided to unbundle the cost of the hearing aids from the service of the hearing aids or those visits. So what I do is after we choose the hearing aids for them, we allow them to pay for the visits on an as-needed basis. So all the work is done in usually the first 30, 60, 90 days. So I say, you know what? For the first 3 months, there's no charge for visits. We're going to really make sure you can drive these babies as best you can, that you know everything you need to know. And that we have the opportunity to adjust them and so forth. And then after that, as needed, you can pay a small office visit to cover any future visits that you may need. And this type of system is called unbundling. It's slowly gaining popularity around the country, but I'm maybe 2 or 3 in the state of Florida that now do this. I'm one of those. And so it ends up, we find that patients spend on average about $2,000 less for hearing aids if they do it this way.
Because it was all involved. When they were selling hearing aids the other way, they had to take into account all the visits.
Correct.
Is that what happens?
Correct. They would bundle all those visits together. But hearing aids are so well made now and so easy for patients to maintain if they're taught those things properly. They don't really require a lot of future visits once we get that initial setting and training in. So I would say the average person might come back once or twice after the original 90 days a year. That's it. So when you look at that, they're able to afford
so now
hearing
let's
aids.
go into the technology. So are things always changing? What if they buy a hearing aid today and then a year from now there's something that's magnificent that comes in? What if
Well,
they
it
do
depends.
then?
Some things can be updated on hearing aids. Hearing aids are computer driven, right? So we can do firmware updates, things like that can make improvements on the devices they have. So we expect people to be able to use their current hearing aids, 5-6 years.
Amazing.
Easily, yeah. So,
And do you encourage people to buy hearing aid insurance?
well,
Loss insurance?
most of my hearing aids have a 3-year loss insurance included.
Oh, really?
So they don't have to buy it extra. But after the
Wow.
3 years, there are private insurance agencies for not too much cost that will insure them going forward. And so we connect them with those agencies so they can make sure that they're covered for everything that they need.
So you're really against having hearing aids in drawers?
Oh, my goodness. In fact,
That's
if I hear that, I actually, I would make them give them back. There's not, and you know what? I don't hear that much anymore. I hear stories from a few years ago, but most people today getting hearing aids, they like them. They're really, really enjoying them. So you don't see that as much, thank goodness.
And so so people have iPhones.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
they have their phones, and you can actually use their phones to help them change their hearing.
Yeah, this is the best. There's apps. They're free apps, and we download them right in the office for them, and that's part of the training. We teach them how to use very simple apps to change and control their hearing aids, and without people knowing. See, in the past, you'd be, maybe adjusting the volume on the back of your ear or inside your ear, and that draws attention to it. People don't want other people to know. We can hide them physically, and now the app and their phone, it makes them look like they're checking their text messages, but they're actually making changes to their hearing aids. It's awesome.
So I don't know if I told you this story before. Yeah, I think I have, but because I really always enjoy talking with you. And I remember sometimes people come in and they're in their 90s and they've never had a hearing aid and they've needed one. And people drag them in, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Need a hearing aid. And this one woman was so beautifully dressed when she came in, and I guess she couldn't hear well. I didn't know that. I was just sitting and observing. And when they told her, yes, you absolutely need hearing aids, and she said, I'm not getting them. Why? Well, because I don't want people to think I'm old.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard
Right.
that before. And
Every day.
Every day. And women who have hair so they can cover it.
Oh my
but-
gosh, they're just invisible now.
But
We even
they
have
don't-
some that you can put so far in the ear canal, and that they are absolutely invisible. I mean, there's no one that can physically see them. So there's no excuse anymore.
Yeah,
None.
because because you've been in this
Oh, my
field
goodness.
for so long.
You can hide it in your hair, and if you
Right.
don't have hair, you can insert it one so small in the ear it's gone from sight.
And I want to go back to something that I said we ought to talk about. There are a lot of hearing centers. Every time I go to a shopping center, I always see a
Right.
hearing center, but I don't see any signs on the outside with a name that says audiologist. I mean, maybe they have one, but I think if they do, they would be very happy to put the name out there. So why don't you explain to people the difference in someone who has been trained and someone who maybe, like you, the company's run by an audiologist. You may have people in there who aren't audiologists, but
Right.
you are on top of this, right?
Because if they're not my exact patient, then I'm managing their case in addition to the provider. So obviously I have a doctorate in audiology. That is the minimum requirement to be an audiologist in this country, to have your doctorate. So we look a lot at not only the hearing loss, but other underlying potential medical conditions that we have to alert their physicians to. So, we try to identify actually the source of the problem, and in case there is medical intervention that needs to be done at the same time. So it's not just about selling hearing aids. We want to make certain that there aren't neurological issues or physical problems with the ear or the brain that they need to be addressed alongside with what we're doing with the hearing system. So if we see something unusual in the testing or in the case history, we make sure that our patients are seeing their other physicians to handle medical issues that might be contributing to the hearing loss or are related to it.
So there's a woman I know who's a volunteer at some of the theater events, and she said that she has I forget what you call it, an
Cochlear implant,
Yes, an
right.
implant. Why is that? Who is that necessary for?
Those are necessary, and my mother-in-law has one, so I can speak personally. When hearing loss descends to the point that hearing aids no longer can help. For instance, my mother-in-law had only 10% left of her hearing, that there were not hearing aids strong enough to give her enough hearing to communicate. So that's when a cochlear implant would be utilized, because in that instance, the surgeon actually basically drills out the person's cochlea, which is no longer functioning, and wires up something right into the auditory nerve, which is basically an artificial cochlea. So that is the only way to do it, because their cochlea is destroyed. Their own cochlea is the word for the inner ear. It's destroyed, so a hearing aid doesn't help. So an artificial one is implanted, and that is what's used to send the sound to the brain.
So do they still need hearing aids?
The hearing aids will no longer work.
No, but
part
I
of
mean,
the
to work with
implant,
part
of the implant is something behind the ear that looks like a hearing
Oh,
aid.
that's
but
why,
it's
'cause I
it's
thought-
a
I saw
processor.
that. Oh.
Yeah, it's not really a hearing aid, but it's shaped like one.
Oh,
But that's the processor. The sound that's.
I see, and that's how. Now, is it always there? I mean, do they turn it off at night or what? I mean, how do they do this?
It depends. My mother-in-law turns hers off at night. She does. She just wants quiet. So, but some people have to have awareness of in case an intruder's on in their house coming into their home, so they would keep it on.
So have you ever had someone who came in who had such poor hearing that you could recommend that? 'Cause you don't do this
sure.
yourself.
No, it has to be done by surgeon. Absolutely. So if we have cases that are not correctable with hearing aids, that's the first thing I do. I give them a list of surgeons in the area that specialize in that, and said, please go forward. They have to go for a consultation to see if they're a candidate, because they have to, there's a process to determine if they're a candidate.
So there are a lot of serious things, and that's why I think going to someone like you as an audiologist, you'd be more
Right.
aware, because, I'm sure that some people will say, well, hearing aids can do everything, right? We'll find you a hearing aid.
Right. So there might even be cases where there's a potentially surgically correctable hearing loss. Potentially. I'm not a surgeon, but it would be evidenced on a hearing test that it's a potential correction by a surgeon. So I'm saying, you know what, before I fit you with hearing aids, why don't you speak to a specialist surgeon of the ear? They're called otologists or neurotologists, and just get an opinion to see if there's a way to medically correct it, or at least learn about it. So then you can choose: do you want to medically correct your hearing loss, or do you want to wear hearing aids? Where they're saying, "Wow, no one ever told me that was a possibility." I said, "Well, you'll never know unless you go to the surgeon, but your tests suggest that might be a possibility for you. So I would like you to go there first and just hear what your options are before you make your decision on hearing aids.
My guest is MICHANNE Davidson, and she is an audiologist, and she is also the owner of Active Life Hearing. They have a lot of centers, Coral Springs, Boca Raton, Boynton Beach, and soon in some other places. But that's good enough for you right now, the people who are listening here. The phone number to call, please get an appointment. Start off with a hearing test. It's painless. And do you charge for hearing tests?
No, the first hearing test, it's the hearing screening is no charge. And May is Better Speech and Hearing Month. Let that motivate you people. Come in. There's no reason not to. And there's, we really make you feel comfortable. Bring your family members in. In fact, I'm working with the wife, and the husband said, you know what, can you test me next week when I come in with my wife? I said, absolutely. I'll leave an extra half hour for you. So
you are
it's
so
the time.
good. I mean, people who have, maybe you've had a bad experience, some of our listeners who, have gone to hearing centers. Why don't you start fresh and start with someone like MICHANNE? She is not to be believed, and it's so wonderful to work with her. But let me give you their phone number again. Get your pencils out. Remember, it's Pencil Talk Radio. It's 561-221-0450. I'll do that again. 561-221-0450. And that way, when you call, you can leave a message if they're closed. If you call now, someone will get back to you. But MICHANNE is very dedicated to this. She's been in the field. How long have you been working in this
Do I
field?
have to tell you?
Oh, come
Then
on.
you'll know how old I am.
No.
32 years.
32
Yeah,
years. And
right.
You started out very young.
I did. I went, I started college at 17. So by the time I got through my master's, which at the time the master's degree was the standard of education you needed. So graduated with that in my early 20s and started working right away. Got my doctorate a little bit later, But
And you worked for other companies, which is interesting because as you do that, you learn about the things that you would like to do yourself that they don't do, right?
You got it. That's what really opened your eyes, really, really opened your eyes. In fact, one company I worked for many, many years, I would beg them, please get me some demonstration hearing aids. Please, I really need to, show people. They wanted people to just, trust what I say. This is what you need and buy it. Well,
that's why they
not
were in
how
the
it
drawers.
works. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
exactly why people.
Because they were fit with things that maybe were not appropriate for them. And without trying it ahead of time, they had no idea. And that just bugged the what out of me. So
Yeah.
I was really, really happy to finally push myself to, okay, if you want to do it the right way, you have to do it yourself. And that's what led me to open my own practice, really.
It's a shame. My husband wore hearing aids, and we always got him the very best we could. And he was intelligent, and he worked so hard on those hearing aids. He did everything he was supposed to, but he never had the demonstration hearing aids. And many of them were, I guess it was just when computerized hearing aids came in. But I wish I could turn the years back for many reasons, have him back myself, but I
Right.
would have loved to have taken him to you because all the things that I hear you do, he really needed. And as much as I knew what should be done, I'm not an audiologist. I can just say,
Right.
well, how about this or how about that?
Right.
And so you're,
Wow.
you really could make a lot of people very happy. I wanted to go back to something too that I knew, and that when you go to have a hearing test, please bring someone with you who you're with, and
Please
tell
do.
people why that's important.
Well, first of all, one of the main reasons I like someone with them is that you hear my voice. I project my voice very well. There isn't hardly a patient that doesn't hear me very, very well. So I really like to simulate in the demonstration process how they can hear their significant other or best friend's voice with and without hearing aids, because that's who is important in their life.
And that they always say, he mumbles or
That's
she
right.
mumbles,
And
right?
that other person will often be right, exactly, the support person that says, see, I care about you. I wanted to prove this to you, and this is why I'm here. And it does take a little support from family and friends, and I love it. That happened a lot this week. I told you the one story. There were several others where family members brought their mom in. I had someone that brought their mom in. She just called and she goes, she loves the demonstration hearing aids. Order them and have them for us next week. I said, absolutely, I would love it. And her mother was, oh my goodness, I think in her 90s, have never worn hearing aids. So yeah. And even a good friend of mine brought her mom in, just moved to South Florida from up north. He brought her down for an assisted living facility. Really active lady. Just stopped playing tennis, but just go get her. And I see you're shaking your head.
No,
but
we're good.
But again, she's like, I hear fine. And so he's like, Mom, you got to do this. And that's what helped.
Well, one thing I remember that when people have not used hearing aids and they thought they hear well, once they get the hearing aids, they hear the birds sing and all. I was in my house yesterday at my computer. I'm in a condo, so I'm on the 7th floor. All of a sudden, I'm hearing a bird. I'm looking in my house. There's no bird. A little bird was out on the little ledge right outside my window. And so that was very exciting. I knew I could hear.
Yes.
Because it's hard when you hear this little bird somewhere.
You did well. Good for you.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I just wanted to have a hearing test from you, but I think maybe I'm just going to put off a little bit. But I wanted to do it just to be with you and have you. You're so charming. I know you charm everybody, but they don't buy hearing aids because they need them. They just want you to charm them.
Not true. But I make a lot of good friends in this industry because I feel like my patients are my friends and my family, and I've always looked at them that way, and I guess that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's just always such a pleasure to have you. And you know, the one thing is, and I told you this, when we have our next Cure Symposium, I really would like you to be one of our speakers because I think you have a lot to say, and people really they don't really want to come to speeches about hearing. They don't really want to, but you're different. I know that we're going to have you bring all the little demonstration things.
Yeah.
See, you know, at our Cure Symposiums, we don't want to have any PowerPoints, nothing. And you will do so well
talk.
bringing all your things. I love it. And we can demonstrate and everything. It's going to be very exciting.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, so
sure.
we're going to have you do that. But thank you for coming in, MICHANNE. I know that you have a big week. You work so hard, but people appreciate it and just think that they can hear their little babies, their little grandchildren.
Isn't that great?
And any birds outside and then
Absolutely.
the theaters. You know, we know that theaters thank goodness theaters have those hearing
The headsets, the infrared
and it's
headsets,
very
most
important.
of them.
And I have to just tell you that you will make a difference. You do make a difference, and thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Anita. Have a great day today.